Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. We've got another video coming your way today, and it is the grand final review from season 2025. The Brisbane Lions go back to back. 2 wins in a row after losing in 2023. What a finish to the season we had. Yeah, great game from the Lions. Geelong maybe left a little bit out on the park. We're going to go through all the stats behind the game, everything you need to know, all the players, who played well, who didn't. And yeah, we'll just wrap up with my thoughts, I guess. And that's what we've got planned today. So we'll jump straight into it. Obviously, it is season over for 2025. And this is how it was done. Geelong 11,975. Brisbane 18-14, 122. A massive score in the last quarter from both teams, let's be honest. Kind of blew that score right out of the park. At three-quarter time, it was 9-6. Worth noting, MVP votes. That goes on All Aussie Rules rating, not necessarily who we think is the best player. I think 100% Will Ashcroft was the worthy winner of the Norm Smith medal. It went the rating same with Cluggage. I think a lot of that, I won't say junk time, but a lot of his work was in the last quarter. He had like 14 touches and 3 goals or something in that final quarter. Like, it was ridiculous what he put together late in that game. Overall, team rating suggests Brisbane were much better, 51 to a 42. It's one of the biggest discrepancies Brisbane has had against a top 9 team this year, and the same can be said for Geelong. That is probably their worst. We'll do full analysis of that sort of stuff in the podcast episode coming out later this week. But initial thoughts are it was not Geelong's best performance. Best players for Brisbane in terms of rating: Hugh McCluggage, Zach Bailey, Will Ashcroft, Dane Zorko, Jasper Fletcher. All were outstanding, as was Harris Andrews and probably a few more. We'll go through all players very shortly. For Geelong, Max Holmes, Lawson Humphries, Ollie Dempsey kicked the first goal, Bailey Smith and Tom Atkins were their top 5. Little run through the game by the moments. Both teams struggled to really adjust to the game, I guess, early. It was high pressure. It was a lot of wasted opportunities. It was a bit of ping pong and football, up and back. Zach Bailey could have had one of the all-time first quarters and one of the all-time grand finals if he had kicked a bit straighter. I think he had 4 behinds at quarter time, so he certainly had an opportunity to do really well, but missed out by just kicking inaccurately. He did make up for it a little bit later. He kicked 3 goals in the end, so he did kind of make up for it. We had to wait a while for the first goal. Ollie Dempsey got that at the 15.5-minute mark of the game to put the Cats on the board. Brisbane got the next one through Kai Lohman, and then Austin Mullen with a great running goal was the third and final goal of that first quarter. Geelong up by 3 points at quarter time. It was certainly a game at this point that was going either way. As I said, neither team played especially great in that first quarter, but Geelong took their opportunities a bit better and therefore had the 3-point lead. Second quarter started well for Geelong. Bowes kicked the first, and then for the next probably 10-15 minutes maybe, Brisbane really felt like they were on top. I think Logan Morris got a good goal. Charlie Cameron got one. And then when Hugh McCluggage kicked his first, 13 minutes into the quarter, it put the Lions back in front, and you felt like they were probably on top at this point. They went goal for goal after that. Shannon Neal got one. Levi Ashcroft kicked an absolute ripper. And then Brad Close kicked a late goal in the second quarter, and it was 36 apiece at half time. All the stats said the game was level peggings, and I think that's a fair analysis of where the game was at. I don't think either team at halftime would have expected what happened in the second half, but certainly it didn't feel like either team was really on top. There were moments where Brisbane felt on top. There was moments where Geelong felt on top, and it was just probably at that point I was thinking whoever takes their opportunities in that second half is probably going to win this game. They came out of halftime. Once again, it was end-to-end football for a fair bit. Certainly for the first probably 5-10 minutes. We only got 1 goal apiece for both teams. Zach Bailey got his first, and then Maxi Holmes kicked one from about 50 from a mark, which was 100% Jeremy Cameron's bit of work. Defensively, a great tackle that set up that goal, and it was back to pretty much level peggings halfway through this quarter, and up until the 23-minute mark of that quarter, it was game on. There's no doubt about it. It was within a point either way, all the way up to that point of the third quarter. And then it was just that last 5 minutes of that third quarter that really suggested that Brisbane were too good. Charlie Cameron got his second goal, and then his third goal when Kai Lohmann handballed it to him running into an open goal. And then Lachie Neale's goal from 50 with a blown calf. He was the starting sub. I thought it was an interesting decision by Brisbane, but it certainly paid off. He came on and absolutely played spectacularly well. He kicked a goal from about 50 metres on the flank, and from that point it was 100%. We knew where this game was going. They had a 19-point lead at three-quarter time. You couldn't write Geelong off at this point, but it was the biggest margin of the game up to that point. It certainly felt massive. Those three goals in the last, 7 minutes of the third quarter were absolutely huge in the context of this game. We'll get onto the Jeremy Cameron stuff in a minute. Obviously, that section of the game was when he was off. They were playing one down. Should they have made their sub, called him out? Hindsight is a wonderful thing, but I think Chris Scott might have missed a beat there, in my opinion. They came out of three-quarter time and it was just instant. Charlie Cameron, 46 seconds in, kicked a goal. And he had 3 goals in the space of, 8 minutes of football time. And that was his 4th goal of the game. And at this point, you're thinking, maybe, just maybe, Charlie Cameron could be getting a little Norm Smith medal. Wasn't to be, but he did play by far his best game of the season this year. He was fantastic. Zach Bailey got another behind. Charlie Cameron kicked it behind. Blixarves did get a goal, and he just felt like they can string a couple together. Maybe, just maybe, but Brisbane put quick pay to that. Blixarves kicked his goal 5.5 minutes into the last quarter. By the 11-minute mark, Brisbane had kicked 3 goals through Cam Rayner getting his first, Will Ashcroft got one, and Hugh McCluggage kicked his second. And at this point, it's out to 30 points, and it's 100% game over. There's no doubt about it at this point. And there was about 5-6 minutes of no goals and a little bit of calmness before the game absolutely just broke open. Zach Bailey got his second. Kai Lohmann got his second, and it was party time for the Brisbane Lions when Zach Bailey kicked his third, Hugh McCluggage kicked his third, and you're at the 25-minute mark, and they're out by over 60 points, which is crazy when the scores were level halfway through the third quarter. Ollie Dempsey got one for Geelong, and then Hugh McCluggage kicked his 4th, and then with, 5 minutes to go, less than 5 minutes to go, Geelong put on a little bit of a resurgence in junk time that meant nothing, but got the margin back from about 65 points down to the final margin of 47. They did kick goals. Ollie Dempsey got his 3rd and 4th goals, and Sean Manor kicked the final. So Dempsey ends up with 4 goals. Multiple players end up with quite a lot of goals in this one due to the second half onslaught. Brisbane, multiple goal scorers. McCluggage, as we said, kicked 4. Charlie Cameron 4. Zach Bailey 3 goals 6. Imagine if he had kicked 8 goals, 9 goals in the grand final. That would have been insane. And Kai Lohmann kicked 2. And Geelong's only multiple goal scorer in this one was Ollie Dempsey, who kicked the first of the game and kicked 3 of the last 4 or 5 goals of the match. So an interesting match for Ollie Dempsey. Just too good, that second half onslaught. There's not much else to be said about it. The stats end up quite heavily in favour of Brisbane in this one as well. After pretty much most of the key stats were dead level at half-time. It was one of the more insane half-time stat lines. But Brisbane tore it apart. They end up with over 40 extra disposals. 15 extra inside 50s. The free kick count really evened up in the second half. Geelong were massively out in front of the free kick count early. It was clearances, though. Absolute domination by Brisbane, plus 15 clearances in this one. Just controlled that side of the game. Uncontested, contested football. It was a low turnover game. Geelong slightly above their average, 1.5 over their average turnovers, but Brisbane 6 under for a high intensity grand final. The ball use was pretty solid. It felt a little bit off early. There was certainly a bit of turnovers early, but after that, the game sort of settled down, and that second half was just goal scoring frenzy, really. Brisbane kick half their goals in the last quarter, and Geelong kicked 5 of their 11 in the last quarter. Tackle count was plus 25 for Brisbane as well, so they certainly had a lot of it in that whole game, second half especially. Score sources, so just a little look at where teams scored from. Crazy number there. Geelong Cats kicking 3 goals straight from a kick in. That is unreal. You don't see that too often. So there was, 14 behinds from Brisbane. 3 times they kicked a goal, Geelong. That's a really impressive effort in that regard, but they got smacked everywhere else. Stoppage scoring, as was the case for both prelim finals, was a huge factor in this game. 11-7 for Brisbane, 73 to 4-5-29 for the Cats. They just tore the game apart from stoppage. That's insane number. 11 goals from stoppage is a really, really impressive effort, and to do that in a grand final, even more so. Turnover scoring, Geelong, that is Geelong's go-to. That's where they play their best footy, when they're getting lots of scores from turnovers. And they couldn't do it here. Just 4 goals for 28 to Brisbane 7-7-49. So I think whichever way you look at it, Brisbane played their game really well, getting a lot from stoppage, and they also limited what Geelong could do in their side of the game from turnover. So really impressive effort at this one from Brisbane. Score origin, defensive half was pretty level, 7-4 for Geelong, just 8-1 for the Brisbane Lions. But forward half was insane, 22 to 46. So Brisbane 6-10-46 from the forward half. A lot of that from stoppages. Just a really, really impressive effort from Brisbane across the ground. But that forward half could have been even better if they kicked a little straighter throughout this game. Centre bounce scoring 1-1 for Geelong to 4-3-27 for the Brisbane Lions. Obviously, the game did open up late, so some of those score sources and origins are a little bit deceptive in terms of the first 2.5 quarters, but when it mattered, that's when Brisbane really, really got going in this one. We'll go into our player review now. Starting with Geelong Cats, obviously they lost. They were the home team, so we're going to go with them. Little explanation here. EXP is the expected rating for each player that we did. If you haven't watched it in our preview episode, it's basically just a mix of their 2024, 2025 averages, their record in finals, their record against this opposition, put together to come up with like an expected rating. We do ratings for every single game here at All Aussie Rules. So, using that, and then actual, or ACT, is the actual rating for the game based on the numbers that we use every single game. And then obviously POS is the position that we had them playing as. DG is a general defender, DK is a key defender, FG is general forward, FK is key forward, MI is inside mids, MO is outside mids, and R is obviously ruckman. Starting, we'll go through each player. Why not? We won't go massively in depth with everyone, but we'll go through them. Mark O'Connor, we started obviously backline, go our way through forward line, midfield, and finish with ruck. Mark O'Connor, not too far from his expected value. He was okay. Certainly nothing too exciting, but he was okay. Zach Guthrie, he played pretty solid. Once again, right on that expected value, so you can't expect too much more from those couple. Lawson Humphries was probably their biggest overperformer in this game based on expected value. He was really, really good. He had plenty of the football in this one. One of Geelong's better players. He was their second leading disposal getter with 23 and had 638 metres gained. So he was pretty solid. Jai Clark, Another one that played pretty solid without like blowing the world apart. He was solid. Lawson Humphries was actually third leading disposal getter. Sorry, I missed Bailey Smith. Then the key defenders, Connor O'Sullivan. I think defense overall in this game was pretty solid for 2.5 quarters. Certainly for Geelong, and probably 4 quarters for Brisbane. But Connor O'Sullivan did really well. He played his role as a key defender. Numbers were pretty solid. Sam De Koning missed an opportunity for the first goal of the match and perhaps didn't have as much effect as in this game as he would have liked. Jack Henry was solid, took a couple good intercept marks in this one. Into the forward line, Brad Close did kick a goal late in the first half. Overall, he didn't play that great. He didn't do anything terrible, but I mean, he was below expected value. Sean Manor, another, was below the expected value, as was most of this forward line. They kind of struggled to have much impact on the game. He was okay without doing much. Tyson Stengel, he was well below. He struggled to have much impact. Graham Myers, he played well. He didn't play outstanding, but he played solid without having any great moments. Jack Martin, obviously, he was the starting sub. He came on at 3/4 time for Reece Stanley. Didn't have much impact in the game in that quarter. Nothing too outstanding. Shannon Neal, a key forward, struggled to have much impact. He did kick a goal, a really, really good hit from well beyond 50. But other than that, didn't have a huge say in the game. Jeremy Cameron broke his arm. They didn't sub him off. He kept playing. Should they have subbed him off? Probably. I don't think he had enough impact on the game throughout. He still played 83% game time, even though he missed 17 minutes straight in that third quarter when he was getting his arm wrapped up for a second time. Just 8 disposals, 0 goals too. He struggled against Brisbane last year and this year, so maybe we should have seen that coming. His expected rating was well below his normal rating, which is about 60 odd. And his actual performance in this one at 28 is well below that. Another one, Paddy Dangerfield, really struggled to have a huge amount of impact in this game. Didn't get a lot of the football after a really, really good prelim final. He had just 10 disposals and didn't have much effect on the proceedings. Max Holmes, he was their highest rated player in our system. He had 33 touches, 1 goal, 907 metres gained. He probably went a little bit below his normal disposal efficiency early, certainly in that first half, but I think he was clearly their best player. He had some massive numbers. He certainly had a massive effect on the game. He had 2 goal assists as well. Bailey Smith racked up quite a lot of touches, 29. I don't think he had his usual impact on the play, though, in my opinion. He was okay without being outstanding, slightly below his expected value. Tom Atkins, slightly above his expected. He was good. I think he was certainly solid. Austin Mullen, playing that defensive role, did kick a great goal in the first quarter. He was about his normal rating, which probably you want to see a little bit more from him, in my opinion. Ollie Dempsey, his rating goes through the roof. Obviously, had a really good last quarter. Kicks 4 goals, gets a goal assist, 19 touches. Yeah, he was the best outside mid in the game, I think. Overall, he played solid. I mean, his numbers get inflated late in that game, but I think he was still pretty solid throughout most of the rest of the game. Jack Bowes went over his expected rating as well, slightly. A solid performance from him. Reece Stanley got subbed off at 3/4 time. He was struggling to have much impact. I think the Brisbane Tools were better than the Geelong Tools in this one. And Mark Blixarves also played ruck in this one. He ends up with 28 hitouts. Maybe they should have played him just as the 1-out ruck. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but he went below his expected rating as well. So that's Geelong. Moving, we're going to do a summary of all this very shortly, so stick around for that. Brisbane Lions on the other side of the fence. Starkovic did get subbed. No, he didn't get subbed off, sorry. He got injured in the third quarter and didn't come back on, I believe, concussion. Um, he was playing a good role on Paddy Dangerfield. He was solid throughout. His numbers don't look anything special, but he was playing a lockdown role and he did a great job of it. Dane Zorko did what Dane Zorko's done a lot of over recent years, or certainly last year and this year, and that's play a really good game of football in a finals match. He was important. He had a massive moment in that late in that third quarter that set up the Lockie Neal goal. He straight lined the ball, got it, the intercept, handballed it onto Lockie Neal, who finished the job. So he was really good. Darcy Wilmot had a really good final series. This probably wasn't as good a game as he's had previously throughout the finals. He still had 17 touches. He was important. Jasper Fletcher, he was great. There was a lot of talk that he might have been in contention for Norm Smith. I think he was certainly in the conversation. He ended up with 29 disposals, 517 metres gained. His role was very important. Big Brucey Revel, played solid. His rating slightly below the expected, but he was good. I don't think he did anything wrong throughout the day. Ryan Lester, the key defender, third tall for them, played his role absolutely outstandingly. Barely beaten all day, did a really good job. Harris Andrews, as we expect, his final series was absolutely insane. The crazy thing is this was probably his third best of the 4 finals matches, and he was really good. He was second in Norm Smith voting. He was outstanding. He went above his average and really played a great game. In this one, did I miss Darcy Gardner? Yes, I did. Darcy Gardner, another tall defender that just played his role really well, went above his expected value, as did most of this Brisbane Lions team. The second half was absolutely outstanding from them. Jumping into the forward line, Zach Bailey could have had one of the all-time games, 3 goals, 6 from 23 disposals, 5 clearances. If he kicks 5 or 6 goals in this, he definitely gets Norm Smith. So he played outstanding, well above his expected value. He was great against Collingwood in the prelim, and he was absolutely fantastic in this one against Geelong. Charlie Cameron, as we said, he played his best game of the year. He basically doubled his expected rating, kicked 4 goals. His efforts throughout the third quarter was fantastic. A third quarter, I don't know if I said third or fourth, but in the third quarter were great. He was huge. Cam Rayner struggled to have a huge amount of impact, certainly in the first half. He did okay in the second half, had some moments. Just the 11 disposals, but did kick a goal. Stood up when they needed him to, I guess. Levi Ashcroft, in his first grand final, in his first season, he was really good. He went above his expected value by about 5 points, played a good game, kicked a really good goal, did what he needed to. Kai Lohman, he was solid. Another one that played his role really well. What did he kick? 2 goals with 1 goal assist from 17 touches. If you can get that from a medium-sized forward, you're going to take that most days. Their tall forwards are probably where the only area of the game they kind of struggled. Ty Gallup didn't have a huge impact on the game in this one. Throughout most of the game, just the 10 touches, didn't kick a goal, but he took a good mark when he was needed late, but overall didn't have a huge impact. Logan Morris was the best of the key forwards on the ground. Only had the 9 touches, kicked 1 goal, 1 goal assist. Not a huge game from him, slightly below his expected value. Oscar McInerney mainly played forward in this one. Obviously, he was the big story in this one after missing out on the grand final last year after doing his shoulder in the prelim against Geelong. He played solid. He wasn't anything special, but he played okay. He played his role. He had 15 hit-outs still. There was a lot of stoppages, so both teams had a fair bit of hit-outs, like Darcy Ford had 45. Midfielders, Lockie Neal obviously came on at halftime and was insanely good. For a half of football, he had 17 touches, 1 goal, 7 clearances, 2 goal assists. There's nothing that bloke can't do. 3-week turnaround from a calf injury and came out and did this is next level. So massive shout out to him. He goes below his expected rating, but that's because he played half a game. If he had played a full game, it would have been interesting to see if he could have got through it, firstly, but also what number he could have rated. Josh Dunkley, he's one of the only midfielders that didn't really go at their expected rating. He had just 16 touches in this game, 25 metres gained. That's one of the all-time lowest metres gained per disposal I've ever seen. He wasn't fantastic, but in the end he didn't need to be because the rest of their midfield certainly was. Hugh McCluggage, he went well over the expected rating again for the second week in a row, was outstanding. 26 touches, 4 goals, 6 tackles, 5 clearances, and 3 goal assists. Yeah, inflated due to that last quarter where he went crazy good, but overall, his game was solid throughout and really took over in that last quarter. Will Ashcroft, back-to-back Norm Smith medalist, insane to be like 21 years old or whatever he is, and a 2-time Norm Smith medalist, and 100% deserved this one for sure. 32 touches, 1 goal, 3 goal assists, 10 clearances, 575 metres gained. He was in the top 3 players on the ground at any moment of the game. From early on, he was clearly there. Some players started well and then faded out. Other players maybe built into the game and got into the top 3 late, mainly Hugh McCluggage. But Will Ashcroft just the whole way through this game was really, really good. Outside midfielders, Archie was one of their 2. He played above his expected value, played pretty well. Sam Marshall was on the other one. He got subbed out at halftime for Lachie Neale. It didn't have much impact in the game up to that point, but first-year player gets a premiership, so fantastic effort from him. And Darcy Fort, he was the best ruckman on the ground. 45 hitouts, 9 disposals, 5 clearances. He played his role absolutely perfectly and did beat the Geelong ruckman, no questions. A little look at the expected value by position and whereabouts teams did well and or didn't do well. Starting with Geelong, their defence actually performed better than expected. Only slightly, not a massive difference there. Their forward line absolutely underperformed. That was a massive issue. They didn't get the ball forward enough in that second half. But, their forward line players just really struggled to get any momentum in this game. Their midfield, a little bit below expected value. 6 points under, which is quite a big margin. I think roughly like you're looking at a 4 or 5 points per like scoring points per 1 rating point. So maybe that's 20 points below average. Their expected score output. So not a great performance from their midfield. They weren't terrible, just went unders. Meanwhile, Brisbane across the field, they were outstanding. The defence +7 was huge. Their defence was meant to be pretty good, but they absolutely destroyed the Geelong forward line. You look at the difference there. Brisbane defence to Geelong forward line +22 points is ridiculous. Like, there's no way they're losing that game with those ratings in the back line. Forward line for Brisbane went above average, or expected value at least. Mainly the smalls. They were outstanding in this one. Charlie Cameron, Zach Bailey, Kai Lohman. Really, really good performance from them. So they also beat the Geelong defence by 4 rating points. And then the midfield. So Geelong midfield went more than 6 rating points below expected. Brisbane's midfield went more than 6 rating points above. So they were expected to be reasonably close to midfields, with Brisbane the slight edge. But the Brisbane midfield absolutely towed this game up. Great performance from them, 100%. Deserved the win. Congrats to them. Back-to-back premiership team. That's pretty much everything we've got for you in this video. I'm just going to wrap up with my final thoughts. Brisbane, perfect on the day. They didn't make a mistake. Pretty much on the selection table, we thought Lachie Neale was a risk. Paid off. Thought starting him as the sub was an interesting decision. Paid off. So pretty much just whatever they touched turned to gold. Well done, Brisbane Lions. Geelong, back to the drawing board. They weren't far off it. I mean, they're pretty much level halfway through the third quarter. Yeah, they got blown away in that last quarter and a half. But at the end of the day, I think you just kind of forgive it. That's that's football sometimes. Things don't go your way. They've still got a really, really talented list. Obviously, they had some issues. Jeremy Cameron with the broken arm. They had a lot of players that just didn't perform, and I think that's the long and the short of it. They just had too many players that were below their expected and usual output, and that's probably cost them this match, or at least a chance at winning this match. We tipped Geelong at the start of the season to beat Brisbane in the grand final. We went so close, we fell just short. If you're new around here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that noti bell so you don't miss any videos. We do season reviews for every club. There's only 2 teams left to go, which are Geelong and Brisbane. So they'll be coming out on the YouTube channel this week. We do 2 podcasts every single week. One on the men's game, one on the AFLW. So go check them out as well. Check out All Aussie Rules all over social media. We post every day pretty much somewhere, but a lot of days everywhere. So go check it out. I try to bring you all the content you need to know. That's pretty much everything we've got. Jump in the comments. Let me know what you thought of the grand final. Who was your best on ground? And it will be any one of probably 5 or 6 Brisbane players were the best players by far. But I'm Jay. This is the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. That's the grand final review. Plenty more content coming out this week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one.